VR, MR, XR, spatial computing.
Vision Pro will introduce us to spatial computing.
I think that monitor gaming at a desk has its days numbered. I'm from a time way off into the future, and I can say that you all have no idea how awesome gaming and computing is going to become, assuming I'm on the right timeline. We have only 15 years or so until 2D and flat games become a niche. Hello, meatbags. This is the ISO. Welcome to the gray void where I do most of my thinking. This avatar just powers down when I'm not here, I think. I wonder what it does in its free time. In this video, I will sound a bit different, and that's because my Vocaloid processor decided to make me sound like a tired old sultry bastard.
Oh no, man.
Let me give some examples of how consoles of the past have helped VR become more mainstream. Nintendo, back in 2006. They kicked off the motion control thing back with the Wii. The old motion controllers we called Wiimotes used accelerometers to determine relative position, a gyroscope to determine down, and also used an IR blaster and a receiver for a cursor and in-game pointer positions. Sounds familiar, almost like the basic parts of a VR controller. The Wiimotes were only 3 degrees of freedom, or 3'd off. That means it only tracks the orientation of the controller, not the position in space. The old Oculus dev kits and Google Cardboard headsets also only had these sensors in them, but 3'd off only really made people sick, and you can only rotate your head to look around. So if you were tried to lean in or do anything, the whole world would follow you and create this disconnect in your mind. Another source that helped was the Xbox back in 2010. The Kinect with the Xbox 360, the same device that came out in 2005. The 360 only had 512 megabytes of RAM, but holy crap, the Kinect was so advanced that it had to have a proprietary connector because the Xbox 360 couldn't supply enough power to it. The way the Kinect did its magic was by shooting a grid of infrared lasers using an infrared camera to determine where someone was using topographic information. So it would try to find a human-shaped object in the room. There's some really cool videos of what the camera can see, but this is a pretty essential step to get LiDAR systems in the consumer space. The modern version of this is very similar for lighthouse-based VR tracking. A spinning grid of IR lasers shoot out into the room, and IR sensors, lensless cameras essentially, in the headset can see this light from the lighthouse. What's cool about the Kinect is that it's a somewhat viable option for full body track. So in the process of creating this video, I reached out to someone on the Thrillseeker Discord, and they were using the Kinect as a full body tracking solution. And it got me curious because I can get one of those for very cheap, for 10 bucks at a reused game seller. So I went out and got an Xbox Kinect for 360 and also had to go on Amazon to get the adapter for it. So total I spent $22 on a full body VR tracking setup, and I gotta say it's pretty garbage. It's bad. Like, it's really bad. I'm actually kind of on a time limit here before the thing oh shit. I'm just kidding. The trackers, they work for a certain period of time, and then the software just decides to implode randomly. Sometimes you can't tell when it's doing it. But if you can see, I have elbow tracking here. It's a little bit laggy, but it works. It obviously doesn't do rotation very well. But take a look at this. I'm in the ground. Yeah, my legs decide they want to spaz out constantly, so they're not super useful for something like legs or knees for that matter. So I got the hip tracker here, and the elbow tracking is, it usually does work, but not always. It's very limited on its range of motion, so yeah, you saw it glitch out. But if I try and move around, and this is probably just a user error, but there's like a degree of there's kind of a degree of natural movement when talking to the camera kind of thing, which it's good for that, but it's actually kind of pushed me towards getting proper full body tracking. So yeah, I don't recommend it. It works pretty good with things like the Quest. So, but leave a comment if you use Kinect for full body track. And then there's PlayStation.
PlayStation 3 will retail for $599 US. $599 US.
In the same year, 2010, but later on, PlayStation 3 got the PlayStation Move. which sort of combined the Wii stuff and the Kinect stuff. You got the IR camera that tracked the colored ball on the controller, and the accelerometers and gyroscopes for positional data. The Move controllers were the only true VR controllers back in the day during the motion control era. It was 6 degrees of freedom, so it had the front, the back, side to side, in the full 6 DOF configuration, what we know as VR controllers now. And these controllers were the basis for the PlayStation VR headset that came out with the PlayStation 4. So if you had some PlayStation 3 Move controllers, you could use them as your VR controllers in PlayStation VR. But beyond that, you also had some dabbling from Nintendo with the Nintendo Labo thing. And Wiimotes essentially exist on the Switch in another form. But consoles practically dropped motion controls when VR became its own thing. Oculus really took that niche by storm. The point of the history lesson that I just gave is that innovations spawn new things, and it doesn't stop. VR will get cheaper and smaller over time. Right now it's hard to imagine 2D gaming doing anything special or really different without entering the realm of VR. The software parts are the only real innovation that's going to happen in 2D gaming, such as AI chatting NPCs.
Can't speak for all robots, but as far as I know, we Britons don't need to eat like you fleshy beings.
Or truly physically simulated worlds, where sound and light bounce like they do in real life, where everything is made of very small voxels, where worlds are simulated in a way that resembles real life. But what's cool about all that is that when a new bit of tech comes out on the software side, it affects both 2D and VR, and there'll still be a medium to experience all that stuff. But the rapid pace of hardware innovation in the VR space will certainly outpace any innovation in the screen technology space. Sure, monitors and TVs will look better, but that's about all they can really do. So they're not going to go 3D if you have an ultralight and small headset lets you be in that environment. The rectangle sort of constrains you, but also VR headsets are going to be getting to a point where the human eye can't tell the difference in fidelity between real life and VR. We're almost at that with current headsets. The only thing you may be able to tell is that it's not nearly as bright as it is in real life. But soon enough, even the virtual screens in VR will exceed the physical monitor in its fidelity. People will slowly but steadily move away from TVs and monitors as entertainment and work devices, and only use them to navigate the world when not in VR. So you'll have the box that we all know of in your VR headset, as we know it. This is kind of skipping over the whole AR thing. That may also replace those devices, but the tech is kind of a long way off. I'll make another video talking about how AR is a medium. I've been writing a story that focuses on AR, so let me know if you're interested in that in the comments below. The way to interact with things in VR will definitely change and evolve over time and sort of explode in the various possibilities. So far, what we know of is that eye tracking will help you highlight things and help with hand and eye coordination. But it can also go into the realm of eye tracking to improve context menus or have a UI that's faster because all you have to do is look at it. Or foveated rendering, where the tracking improves the fidelity of the zone that you're looking at. The current PSVR headset does that, and it is wild. Or brain interfaces, where you can just think of a setting or an action, say an ability, and use your hand movements or eyes to initiate it. Or you can use your eye and face tracking combined with haptics and full body tracking to have the most vibrant interactions in social spaces that you can't really get in real life. But eventually the younger generation will grow up with these very advanced and very ubiquitous technologies. And will not know much else beyond that. 15 or 20 years is going to be the beginning of the end for monitors and TVs as we know it. And in the next century, we practically won't even have them. I'm sure you're imagining Ready Player One, where no one really bothers leaving their home and corporations have taken over everything. This is a very real and likely scenario if something like AR doesn't take off or it's not a viable way to do things. I'm a bit of an optimist myself, and I believe that people here in the US will continue to hold on to the things that keep us grounded in real life. Take a stance on surveillance. Almost no one wants facial recognition to be in the public space and take off kind of like it has in China. Or how there's no drone taking pictures of your town every second and the police can track anyone and everything at all times. Yet. There are real benefits of physical interaction that lots of people value, that VR can't really offer cheaply as well. I'm a firm believer that something like the holodeck in Star Trek is way off into the future. There's a degree of difficulty that comes with simulating physical touch and things that have weight in VR. We still have our fun niche medium that's reminiscent of the internet first coming out.
What is internet anyway?
Internet is that massive computer network, the one that's becoming really big now.
I think traction on this medium will definitely pick up when people start copying Apple, and then those get copied themselves. That's like 2 generations off, so 3 to 5 years each generation. That gives us about roughly 10 years, and then 5 with any overlap. But let me know if you have a VR headset in the comments, or if you're thinking about getting one in the future and what you want out of it. I'm thinking about doing a video on AR, and I would like a little bit of input on that. Let me know what I should add to it. But yeah, that's it. It's kind of a short one, sorry, but just kind of figured I'd talk about it a little bit. And as usual, I'll see you in the next video, meatbags.